So I've got my What If You Are the Divine Plan t-shirt on. I have my What If You Are the Divine Plan blank notebook that I sell both of these in my shop. And I don't do this lightly. This merchandise has been designed for you to help you on your journey, but also to help support this channel and the content that I deliver to you each week. So I hope you'll visit the shop and consider purchasing some items. They're priced that way so that I can make a little kickback so that I can help fund these episodes. And today I want to talk to you about the Divine Chakra. So I thought it was perfect to wear my t-shirt and to have my bullet point notebook near my side. I've used the notebook often and I've worn the shirt just to inspire other people to live their authentic, true self. Because I believe that we're all here with purpose, no matter how great or small. There's a reason why we're all here together on the planet. And the work that I'm presenting to you now is all about soul yoga and our journey through the 12 chakras. And this episode is the last of the 12. It's the Divine Chakra. And for me, I really made a leap in my own consciousness when I was working with the chakra system as a Reiki master for the last 30 years and working with students and clients and recognizing that there were more energy centers beyond the crown chakra. It can't stop at the crown chakra. The crown chakra is the gateway to higher consciousness and realms of spirit. But when you recognize and differentiate the upper chakras that have to do with your higher self, your karmic chakra and your cosmic chakra, and now where we're at, the divine chakra, you realize absolutely there are these spaces of understanding, awareness, and greater consciousness. The upper chakras have to do with levels of consciousness. So today I'm going to talk to you about the Divine Chakra. I hope you enjoy our time together. I hope you get a lot from it. And I appreciate your being here. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
So the Divine Chakra has to do with being one with God, Goddess, Source Energy. It's not really, to me, being Source Energy. It's being one with Source Energy. When you realize there is all of it, and we're all one big all of it, that's a whole other level of consciousness that I've dipped into a little bit, but I haven't resided there for long. But today, the Divine Chakra, I want to talk to you about this. We all have divine nature as part of our essence, as a cornerstone of our energetic blueprint, as essence of who we really are, but we just don't always align with that part of ourselves. This is why I love the Hindu saying, Namaste. I honor the divine in you. When I am in that place in me and you are in that place in you, we are one. I love that saying. I think I told you in past episodes, I started, my first business was called Namaste Healing because it was just so much a part of what I believe in, is that we're really all working back to our divinity, our conscious connection to source energy. I'm going to try to stay in my body. If you were watching on YouTube, my eyes went up and I started going up into those higher vibrational spaces. I've channeled divine consciousness in talks that I've given. One of the library talks that I did, God came through and I was like, oh my gosh, I was just in awe. This is how this space is, right? These are moments where we and you have experienced grace-filled moments where there's the essence of God, Goddess, Source Energy, divinity that comes and interacts in your life or through other people to you. You're astutely aware of this divine chakra, perhaps when you go into prayerful time or meditation. These are great ways to immerse yourself in divinity, this divine immersion, if you will. where you are given opportunity. I am going to go in and out. I'm so sorry. Where you are given opportunity to embody the light and have it fortify you in your day-to-day experience, right? This is what I have done for quite some time. I was always seeking God elsewhere in other people, seeing the spark of light of God in them and animals, trees, rocks, you name it. I was always doing that as a kid. Where are you hiding? And it was everywhere. I'm hiding everywhere. Goosebumps. Oh my God. I'm gonna cry. Don't cry. So I have relished those moments of meditation when I go in with the intention to connect with source energy. And when you do this, you go in with intention and you just let your awareness climb realms of consciousness, climb to this higher, lighter frequency of vibration, right? I have to share because it just came in my brain. I'm wearing clear quartz earrings. Clear quartz crystals are the one crystals that can help clear all the chakras. So I think I've shared this before. There were times when I was going through real darkness that I wore my clear quartz crystals all the time. And can I tell you what the darkness had to do with? I was not happy in my career. And it was because Spirit, God, was calling me to shift careers to more spirit based work. And I just was struggling because I didn't see the vision. I didn't know the plan. Oh, chills, but God knows the plan, right? So if you're called to greatness, called to a different life, you might think, oh, it's not big. I'm supposed to be a shopkeeper. And meanwhile, I told you the time that I met God in the fast food rest stop, right? God, you have to follow your heart where you must go. Tune in, put your hands on your heart, close your eyes. And is this my highest good? Is this the highest truth? Is this God? Do you remember I told you about my God visit? It's one of my episodes. It was powerful. I was sitting with a friend. We were watching TV and I said, some spirit wants to talk to me. And so I said, I'm just going to go into my treatment room and connect. I'll be back quick. I didn't know who it was because I could just feel clear sensation, that pull, right? I didn't hear clairaudiently. I didn't hear a voice. I just knew I had to go. So always follow your intuition. Always follow your intuition. That's why I teach you your 11 soul senses. This is a framework that I created to help differentiate the way our soul speaks to us and speaks to the cosmos, really everything and everyone on this internal intuitive level. And I went in that moment into my treatment room, laid down, my body spontaneously went into fish pose. Later on, I found out it was fish pose, heart open, and a brilliant light filled the room. And I asked, "Are you of God?" Because I always ask, "Are you of God?" But it was kind of my joke's on me. It was, "I am God," very loud and clear. And I was like, "What do you ask of me?" If you haven't seen that episode, go back and look. I think it's called My God Visit. It was profound. I think a lot of you, I know you're supposed to watch this because there's messages in it for you. Totally just trust this. If you're feeling like, I think I need to watch this or I need to watch it again, trust that. Go back and see it. Listen, it was when I was not on screen, I was audio recording for an audio podcast and I didn't want to go in front of a screen. I hate this. It's not my favorite thing, but finally pushed by spirit to no, and pushed by, business friends that were like, no, you've got to go in front of the screen. So here I am in front of the camera for you. But the old one, it's a lot of clips, B-roll clips. And some of it we needed to use AI because the concepts were not anything that we could find the clip art for. So forgive me, I'm not a big fan of the AI stuff just because what it does to the planet, but it was necessary. So, I mean, what can we do? So, go back and check out that if it resonates, if it feels right for you. I just feel like this is being kind of megaphoned into my ear right now from spirit that you're supposed to watch it. So if that resonates, go for it. So when you are entering into that space of the divine chakra, and it's really a state of consciousness in that divine consciousness space, you go from kind of an intellectual understanding of the concept of God to an innate Gnostic kind of relationship, a knowing, right? Where it's just this experiential flood of divine consciousness. Now, some people dip in and out For me, the God visit in my treatment room was random. I wasn't seeking it at that moment. I was watching TV, but I knew the call of spirit. Now, sometimes, and I think I've told you this before, no matter where I am on the planet, if I am called to go into a house of prayer, no matter what religion, I go in, or I hold on to the wall. If I can't legally go in, I hold on to the wall and feel the vibration of God inside. So many names, all one, right? Many names, all one. Oh my gosh, you're just giving me love. I'm feeling goosebumps. That's what I'm going through right now. Just this resonance of thank you. Thank you for saying this exactly like we're presenting it. Thanks for passing it on along as a channel in these moments, or medium, right? Medium is when I hear it and gift it back onto you, and channel is when I just let them use my voice and speak through me. I don't go unconscious channel. I just go conscious channel. So I don't think I look weird. Maybe I do. I don't know. So sometimes we can have these connection of divine consciousness either in random moments in our life where we're inspired or compelled to. Please do that. Follow your intuition. There's a reason it's there. It's your soul talking to you, right? Maybe no rational reasoning why, but do it, right? If it feels like, oh, I feel I'm supposed to do this, always check it in with your heart. I have a lot of episodes in the past on that and discernment. And so you could have these random moments where divine consciousness and God, goddess, source energy connects with you, but you could also go with intention through prayer and meditation. And when you start to build this rapport with this level of your consciousness that we're all capable of tapping into, you begin to recognize that when you the goal is to bring it into your life, to embody the light so that you can be in the flow of that divine consciousness, that love, light, grace, right? For yourself and for others, and through how you see the world. It's this real connection and of an awareness of being directed by source energy. See, you begin to see and feel divine presence in everyone and everything. And I've actually gone looking for that personally. If you're clairvoyant, I'm sure you've tried it yourself, where you're like, let me see and relax my vision and see if I can see not only the person's aura and their chakras, but what about divinity, divine consciousness in them? Can I see God in them? In the way that it is light, right? And so I have some old episodes on the aura. Check those out. Those will give you exercises on how to do that. That might be beneficial for you at this point in your life, but maybe you just head out with intention and look. Some need to close their eyes to actually see it in another. That's fine. Everyone has it. Doesn't matter how much they've, gone to the dark side. They still have spark of God. They're here. They're right. And so just maybe they're just not aligned with that. Pray for them, work with them, douse them with light, treat them with kindness. A lot of times when I struggle with someone who's not really aligned with the highest good, I just am like, wow, I'm just going to blast them with love and light, right? This is important. When we get to this space of divine consciousness, we are able to see the divine presence in everyone and all, and we're able to communicate with these levels of consciousness, much like the cosmic chakra that I spoke to you before. These chakras are one builds upon the other, builds upon the other. So all the gifts of the one before, I guess, skills of the one before come up to the next level, to the next level. So in divine, obviously, divine consciousness and the divine chakra, you are able to communicate with all walks of life. I remember one time when I was playing with that very fact in my prayer time, but also in my waking state of taking walks in nature and being, listening and finding God presence. Where are you? And finding God in and of trees. And I know I told you this story before. I don't remember where it is. I was walking in the woods with some bhakti monks. Bhakti is just loving devotion. Bhakti, it means loving devotion. And they were walking and we were walking and we were chatting. And meanwhile, I hear spirits say, tell them about that you talk to rocks and you hear rocks talk. And I was like, I'm not going to tell them that. So I'm having this major conversation in my mind with spirit. And I don't even look in those moments. I just know the voice of truth. And I don't go, who's telling me this? Why are you telling me this? I guess I could have looked and said, is it their higher consciousness that is that who's talking to me because they need to hear this message? Or is it my guide or our combined angel? Or, what is this about? I just know the voice of truth, and I usually follow directive unless I'm feeling a little awkward. And in that moment, I was feeling awkward. I barely knew these two monks. I was just getting to know them. We were having a beautiful walk through Bulling Mill Brook on Martha's Vineyard. If you've ever been there, you know it's like really gorgeous, sacred land. Definitely a lot of Native American early energy there still. And so we're walking, and Spirit keeps saying, tell them you communicate with rocks. And I was like, I don't want to. And then finally, I was like, okay, I will. So we were talking about how God is in everything. And, I use that word God because I was raised with it, but you could equally use goddess, source energy, great spirit, you know. And I said, maybe you won't believe this, but I've also communicated with rocks. And I remember the one monk goes, oh my God, there's these mystics in our ancient texts that used to converse with rocks. Can you teach me how to talk to rocks? I was like, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. It was so hilarious. So I was like, okay, thank you. Thank you, Spirit, for giving me the courage, right? So when we have these moments where we get these whispers from Spirit or these clairaudient messages or these claircognizant knowings, and we know we're supposed to be the conduit for someone else's learning, we can always say, give me strength. Remember my mantra, I will to will thy will, and if thy will be difficult, keep me clear, keep my ego out of it, give me strength, these kind of things. Mostly it's just my blanket statement anymore for my life. But sometimes, some days, I'm really back in ego-centered self of, living my life going, okay, you got to get back. You got to get back to source. And in that moment, when I was with those Bhakti monks, after delivering the information, we were all really giggling, and I was just relieved that it landed because I was nervous to seem, crazy. It's always been my thing. This is why the protagonist in Some Dogs Talk battles like he thinks he's crazy. He thinks he's nuts. That's my story. Some Dogs Talk is my story. A lot of those experiences where Tony, the protagonist, talks to the dogs and teaches you how animal communication works, those are my stories. Those really happened. Even the fly. If you know, you know. When I was young, I always wished I had come into this incarnation with an owner's manual for my life. What I didn't realize is that I did have one. I had one. You have one too. I think we spend so much of our time trying to figure out our lives, and most of us don't realize we already have this owner's manual, this map, a map that guides us through and into our fullest potential. This is why I wrote my collection, Soul Yoga. I offer you a book using your 12 chakras as a map to reaching your highest potential, a Soul Yoga companion journal documenting your 12 chakra journey, and Soul Yoga inspiration cards for your soul whisperings of your 12 chakras. Because your chakras aren't just energy centers. They are repositories of soul information, your wisdom, your soul memories, vows, promises you made to yourself prior to this incarnation. And in Soul Yoga, I walk you through your 12 chakras from your Earth chakra to your Divine Chakra to help you unravel, uncover, and chart your journey. This book, companion journal, and inspiration card deck are to promote and guide you to your fullest potential. This collection is not about finding yourself. It's about remembering who you are and why you're here. To get your copy of any of these, visit my shop at my website, constancemessmer.com. So this level of consciousness that occurs at the Divine Chakra, the farthest most point in the auric field when it's contained, right? Because our energy is expansive and we're really larger than all of that, but that's another episode for another time. But when we tap into the divine chakra, and if you're watching on YouTube, I have my hands at the top of my head, way above the top of my head. And in the auric field, your auric field tends to go out as far as your arms can reach. And this is generally the spot where I find the divine chakra is basically if someone were to lift their hands above their head and stretch way above, that's typically where I find it, on the edge of the auric field up at the top. But these states of awareness, we dip into now and again, right? And what happens when we are aware that we are one with divine consciousness, we start to realize everyone is one with divine consciousness, this innate nature of who we are. And there becomes this extra blessing, in my opinion, of unity consciousness. And similar to cosmic, right? But unity consciousness is this knowing where you see the whole cosmos as an extension of your whole being. And you really see the ripple effect of your actions. And for all you environmentalists, I love you. You see it. You see that your choices matter, that your decisions make a difference, not only in your life, but to those around you and others, hugely. Yeah. So unity consciousness comes into play, in my experience, at the divine chakra. It's, you get to that space and then you go kind of beyond the divine guidance, still incorporated in divinity, is, in my opinion, in my work, is unity consciousness and this interconnectedness that's deeper, brighter than the cosmic chakra that I've discussed in the recent episode. This is also where, in divine consciousness and the divine chakra, is where there's this dance that shifts from, when you're in that flow, you can't help but live through your intuitive nature. You're not manifesting anymore. You're experiencing miracles, like, because it's so short, it's so shortened, and you are part of the miracles for other people. You show up at the right place at the right time. Some of you have said my videos are showing up in your feed, like the right video at the right time. And I know that some of that is your power. I'm not taking that. I will never take your power. Some of that is you've manifested and miraculously created the energy so that the lesson that I'm presenting could meet you. And this is why I'm so glad we found each other, right? I couldn't do this without you. So thank you for tuning in. Like, I'm relying on you as much as you're relying on me. I will teach you everything I know, but you are also, going out and doing your work on the planet. And if it weren't for you, I'd be talking to the wall, right? So there's this really dance between manifesting and miracles that starts to unfold at the divine chakra. And, this is spirit saying, this is like a lot of the mystics, right? These are the immense spiritual leaders that have traveled the planet before, very embodied with the divine consciousness, divine chakra, living it as a daily experience, performing miracles by location, all of those miracles, right, that can occur, healings, all sorts of things. When you're in those spaces of healing, you recognize it doesn't come from you, it comes through you. That's my experience, because you're tapped into that level of consciousness, of divinity, of grace, right? I think that the frequency of knowledge is an aspect of God. When people say that they can't determine necessarily where they get their messages from in spirit, it's not from a guide, it's not from an angel, it's not from a loved one, it's not from God. Maybe they're saying it's the, the frequency of knowledge, or there's just this frequency band. And I honestly think that that's an aspect of God, much like grace is an aspect of God, much like wisdom is an aspect of God. God, Goddess, source energy, it's a characteristic of, I guess, if I were to put it a different way. When I've worked with those realms of knowing and I trace them to what they're a part of, it is this level of divine consciousness. God's like, I'm everywhere, everywhere. And of course, then the image is the spark of light goes to all of you and inside you, And so I keep saying, I remember when I was instructed, let's put it that way, to incorporate what if you are the divine plan as part of my quotes that I put on a notebook, blank notebook. I thought, how will people handle them? Will they be irritated with me for saying this? And God was like, you don't care. You're not supposed to care, Constance. You're just supposed to follow my directive. And I was like, I don't even know if I understand it. And then God revealed it to me. I get it now. We're here with purpose. We're here with reason. And my moment of telling those bhakti monks, when I had the courage to do and say who I am and what I do, weird as it seemed, it made sense to them and they needed it. And when I had the courage to say, okay, I'll go in front of a camera and start a YouTube channel. Hello. I'm hearing how much the work is helping you, but then I hear your stories back, your miracles back. And some of you write me and you say how the work has transformed your life. And then I'm like, you're the miracle. You are the divine plan. You living your full potential, tapping into your divine consciousness, tapping into these layers of grace and being grace for someone else and the healing place for someone else. That's part of the divine plan. So, all of you are the divine plan. I want you to get that through your head. It's all meant to be, right? For the greater good. You got to trust that. So I would encourage you to grab a notebook, grab this notebook, what if you are the divine plan, and write that out. What are my gifts and talents that are uniquely mine? That's what I'm asking you to write down. What are your gifts and talents that are uniquely yours? Now, there's a million channels and mediums out there. And I was like, what do I have to offer that's not already out there? And it was when I started doing it that I realized, oh, I have a lot to offer. And God will put you where you're meant to be, right? The dance with the goddess is beautiful. It's usually fortifying you and making you weep as much as you help others in your life and in your world. Just be who you are. So with Divine Chakra, it's this realization you can, with intention, ask, what are you asking me? What do you want me to do in this moment? Who do you want me to be in this moment? How do you want me to be in this moment? And allow your heart and your mind to be open. Remember, I've always said this is really key in the work. Allowing your heart and mind to be open to the possibilities, open to the inklings, open to the insight, open to new adventures, open to stepping out of your comfort zone. Spirit will never ask you to do anything that's dangerous or harmful to yourself or others. You know this. I've talked to you about this forever and ever. I'll tell you till I'm blue in the face. Why do people say that? Maybe because I'll be out of breath. So it's really important to recognize that when you're asking source energy, what do you ask of me? That's what I said when God showed up in my treatment room. I said, what do you ask of me? And this whole flood of information came through. It was powerful. And I think I told you some of it. I think I've only told anybody some of it. I told you, right? Where God said, you'll be able to look in people's hearts and minds and reveal to them what's keeping them from me. In essence, I'll be able to read hearts, which I do, hearts and souls, right? But recognize where their fullest potential is through that, like to clear away the blocks. And that's what my work does, I think. I mean, that's what I've done as a healer, as a reader, as a channel, as a messenger, as a helper of spirit, all these things. I think we're all called to work of light and work of service in some form, whether you get paid for it or you do it freely as a volunteer. We're all called to be so full of the grace of God that we're divinity on earth, right? And I think part of it is recognizing that you become aware of that level of consciousness. You become aware of, this is why I started with the earth chakra and am ending with the divine chakra, right? It's about bringing heaven to earth. It's about bringing heaven to earth. In other words, it's about bringing your best possible self here into your life and live that profound, grace-filled experience here. That is love, that is bhakti, that is loving devotion. to all life. When you know, you don't lose sight of yourself. In the last episode, I'm going to wrap all the 12 chakras up somehow because Spirit tells me that's what they want me to do. I'm like, okay, didn't know we were going there, but I guess we're going there. But for now, I just want to ask you this. What level of consciousness do you want to live from? Do you want to live from the level of consciousness that allows you to see through the heart mind of God, of Source? You can do that with intention. What is it you want me to know in this moment? What is it you're asking of me? If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on other podcasts, I have a hand on my heart and another hand palm up to ask. The intention is to ask divine consciousness, source energy, creator energy, the highest of the high. What do you ask of me? What should I do in this moment? Where do you need me? You could even ask, what are some gifts and talents that you filled me with or that I am full of that I have yet to see, reveal, work with? You're constantly changing. That whole thing about quantum physics and how your cells are reproducing and you've got a new body every whatever. I'll stay out of that arena. That's not my arena. But I do know that you are an evolutionary being. And with every day and every choice, you are not the same person you were. You might have the memories, you might have the experiences to move you forward, to be more eyes open, 20/20 vision, whatever it is, but you are always at an opportunity to reinvent yourself and to change and have your own rebirthing or your own spiritual awakening and your own ability to shift your intention to live from these higher states of awareness. I want you to remember we all have divine nature. It's part of who we are. We just don't always align with it. But the ways you can help yourself align with it is to fortify through prayer and meditation with the intention, show me, let me see the world through your eyes. Chills, goosebumps. I told you I've done that before and I had wild miracles happen on those days. Kind of freaked me out, so I don't always do it. Let me see through your eyes. Let me be your hands and feet. I'm going to warn you, it could be a little freaky, but it could definitely be cool. You won't be the same. You'll be transformed. But it'll be a good thing. So I'm going to leave you with that question. What level of consciousness do you want to live from? I hope you're saying divine consciousness because it's that ability to see your interconnectedness to all life, your interconnectedness to your choices, your ability to navigate the world from your physical and your soul senses equally for a better life in our better world. Namaste. I honor the divine in you. When you are in that place in you and I am in that place in me, we are one. Namaste. Thank you for hanging out with me through the Divine Chakra. I hope it's been helpful and enlightening. I do. And I'm going to ask for the blessings of the cosmos to come upon you and fill you with incredible holy light to lift you and fortify you in your days ahead. Namaste.